Let's go.
College basketball.
I got this feeling on the summer day when you were gone. I crashed my car into the bridge. I threw your shit into a bag.
Batista with the catch.
I crashed my car into the bridge.
Unbelievable indeed. I'm Zack Neiner. This is Niner on the Wingman Show. I'm alongside Ankit, Jain.
What's going on, Zach? How are you?
Doing well. We're hoping for Hutton Chapman, our college basketball expert, to join us later in the show via phone from UVA. But Ankit, what are your thoughts of this year's March Madness? I think it's unbelievable, as Gus Johnson just said.
I cannot wait. This is like my favorite time of the year. Like, especially these next 2 days with like the first round matchups. It's just game after game. It's just pure excitement. I'm really excited for this time again. What about you?
Oh, I'm thrilled. I think this is going to be the craziest year ever. I mean, when we were going into this tournament, a lot of people were saying maybe it's going to be chalk. The regular season was so crazy that the March Madness guys are going to be just going to throw us off. Not buying it one bit. I look at this bracket and I just see madness going on. I'm going to be confident in my bracket. I mean, this is probably the first year I'm not. But what about the seeding? What do you think of it?
So overall, I think the selection committee did a fairly good job with the seeding. I can't see more than like 2 or 3 instances where I had scratching my head. And as far as like teams that were left out and then teams that got in, I think they did a good job there. Let's just start with the obvious seeding mistake that the selection committee made, Oregon.
Definitely.
I think we can all agree on that one. Like winning the Pac-12, like that's kind of a difficult thing because a 12 seed essentially means that you're one of the last you're one of the last teams that basically got a major conference bid. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought it was pretty. I mean, wasn't too many surprises in there. Maybe Oregon. Yeah, I mean they're in the Pac-12, which is kind of a weak conference in general. I'm never impressed by the Pac-12. Other than that, though, not too many surprises. A lot of people are underestimating Gonzaga, saying that their resume did not deserve the number 1 seed. I totally disagree. I think that's a little East Coast bias. A lot of people don't see those West Coast games, especially with Gonzaga and the Mount. What conference are they in? Totally blinking on this.
Mountain West?
Mountain West, is it?
Is it Mountain West? I'm positive.
I think it is because they play St. Mary's 3 times.
Right.
But other than that,
I think some people are kind of upset about Miami getting the number 2 seed, and they had to
first time ever winning the outright conference and the conference championship,
and a good conference in the ACC. So I can see how people can make the case for maybe Gonzaga not having the number 1 seed and Miami getting that spot. Another one that kind of jumped out to me is Illinois at number 7.
Were you expecting higher or lower?
I was expecting a little bit lower for them. Over the past month, I haven't seen any quality wins out of them, and at least for me, the selection committee should kind of take into consideration more of like, what have you done for me lately? They did have that thrilling win against Indiana, I think back in January.
Early game.
Yeah. But if I had to pick one of the kind of the middle seeds, I could have been a little lower. I think I would have picked them.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Moving on though, there's a lot of matchups that going through this bracket that can just go either way. But we'll start off in the one region, North Carolina versus Villanova. Which way are you leaning from that matchup?
Okay, regardless of which way this turns out, I think it's going to be a fantastic game. 2 teams that have kind of had their highs and lows this season, and they both play like great quality basketball, especially as of late. If I had to pick one way or the other, I think I'm going to pick UNC.
Popular choice.
Yeah, I mean the thing is like Nova, they just make no sense to me at all this year.
Is Nova a lucky team or are they a good team?
They're a streaky team, if I have to say. I think they can beat anyone, especially playing in the Big East.
Beating 3 top 5 teams.
Absolutely, and what's his name, Ryan Arcidiacono.
Yes,
he is just a game changer. Like
he came out of nowhere freshman. I was not expecting that freshman 6'3" guard to do what he did for Villanova so far this year.
Yeah, but in this matchup, I see very small teams. Because UNC made that switch to go smaller mid-season, and that's been working wonders for them.
And Villanova's not that big either.
No. I see this being a really fast-paced game, but I kind of see UNC kind of being a little bit faster than Nova in this game. An interesting matchup in this would be I don't know, how do you say his first name? Muptau?
Oh, Muptau Uru.
Yeah,
yes.
Muptau Uru versus James Michael McAdoo. That's going to be a fun one to watch. I think McAdoo can kind of run the floor a little bit better, and we can see some kind of mismatch going on there. So that should be an interesting thing to watch. And also, we already talked about him. Ryan Arcidiacono versus Marcus Page from UNC. I think he's also a freshman, if I'm not mistaken. That should be another fun one to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure. The statistics say North Carolina because Villanova, they're awful in turnovers, 15.7 turnovers per game, and North Carolina's pretty good with steals, 8.2 per game, 41st best in the country. But Villanova is just that one streaky team, and that I think they could possibly pull off this upset.
It's going to be a close one regardless, and I'm excited to watch that one.
Definitely. Now moving on, going to Bucknell and Butler, the 11 and 6 seed.
So I think over the past 2 days, or since the bracket came out, Bucknell's kind of becoming a sexy upset.
Yeah, definitely.
And I can see why. They have Mice Muscala, just an underrated player. You probably have never heard about him, but the dude can play. He's averaging like 19 points a game. And Bucknell is a good team to look out for. They haven't lost in a while. At least like a they haven't been like blown out or anything like that. They've been in every contest at least in the past month or so. I like them because they keep the ball, they don't turn it over a whole lot, and just Mike Muscala down low is that presence is just I think it's gonna make the difference in this game.
What about Butler though? Butler was real hot in the beginning of the season, going up to number 13 in the polls, pulling off upsets against Indiana, Gonzaga, I believe. But
yeah, no, absolutely, they're a talented team. Andrew Smith's a great player that they have, and a lot of their success depends on him. But I just haven't seen that quality of play from Butler. Just over the last, I think they've lost 6 of their last 16. So I just don't see them having the kind of momentum coming into this game that Bucknell would have. So I can understand why they're a popular upset pick here.
Yeah, I agree. But who are you taking this? Bucknell or Butler? Which one?
I'm gonna pick Bucknell.
Bucknell. I'm going with Butler. Butler. They held their own against St. Louis. They beat LaSalle in the Atlantic 10 tournament, which I think was a good pick or a good win because LaSalle's a good team. Got underrated, number 13 seed, playing right now actually. But they do have a lot of losses that are just questionable with St. Louis, VCU, and St. Louis again. They were just blown out losses. It wasn't even close. But I think they might find that March Madness magic as they always have, which is unbelievable.
It's going to be a little bit different coming from another 6 seed this time.
Yes.
So we don't know how that's going to work out for them.
Another one, Notre Dame versus Iowa State. Which way are you leaning on this one?
I originally picked Notre Dame in this, but as I've been thinking about it, I like Iowa State.
Iowa State lives and dies by the 3.
And I think they're going to live by the 3 in this. Nobody scores more 3-pointers than Iowa State. They're also 4th in the nation in scoring in general too. And I just like the way they play offense. It's a very dynamic game. They can move around players like many teams, in that region really can't. They have 6 players averaging 9 or more points a game, which is unique. And I love the way they play that high pressure defense, forcing a team like Notre Dame to make turnovers. So if I had to pick one, I would pick Iowa State.
See, I'm going the opposite way. I'm going with Notre Dame. I think they're a team that's kind of being overlooked. Jain Grant, is that how you pronounce it?
Jain Grant,
yes. Who's averaging 13.4 points a game. You have Jack Cooley averaging a double-double. I just believe in that team. The Grant, 3-point threat. I think they can shut down the 3 on the perimeter and make it an inside game. Notre Dame, they're a team that I just don't know about. They beat Marquette in the Big East. They lost to Louisville. They're just a team that
and the big X factor in that was Jack Cooley.
Yes.
In that Marquette game, Jack Cooley was totally just couldn't find anything the first 10 minutes, and Notre Dame went down kind of big, but then they found him creative ways to get on the ball, and he made plays, and that made all the difference. So again, it's just another tough matchup. You can see it going either way just based on how things fall.
Which way are you leaning though?
Iowa State.
Iowa State. I'm going Notre Dame.
Have we disagreed on every single one now?
Yes.
Look at that.
I'm pretty sure our brackets are going to be totally opposite. So the next one, kind of the 12-5 matchup that a lot of people are picking. Oklahoma State versus Oregon. Which way are you going?
Oklahoma State. I see. I can see how.
We agree.
Oh, thank God. We don't want the fight to break out here. Oregon, we talked about it before. They got the 12 seed, probably not deserving that. What's kind of worse is that they have one of the tougher number 5 seed matchups in the tournament. In Oklahoma State. But don't get me wrong, I like Oregon, and I think that maybe if they're playing a different team, I can see
any other team.
Yeah, guys like Tony Woods, EJ Singler, they provide a lot of experience, and then their front court presence is just absolutely incredible. Arsalan Kazemi, is that how you say his name?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, he's averaging close to a double every game, and having a front court with those 3 guys is kind of a lot. But the player I see making a difference in this matchup is Marcus Smart, freshman from Oklahoma State.
I was just going to say his name.
Yeah, he has the potential to just take over a game. This season, he's averaging
15
points
a game.
Yeah, 3 steals, 4 assists. He just has the ability to just kind of change the outcome of a game, and I just don't see Oregon having just the backcourt presence to match his ability on the court.
No, I definitely agree. So moving forward, we're talking about 12-5 matchups. A lot of people pick those for underdogs. Who's your Cinderella? Who's your black horse this year?
Well, originally, this is like my Cinderella pick, but I think in the past day or so, Las Vegas has them actually as the favorite in the first round. So
is that really a Cinderella?
I mean, I'm still going to use it though. Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah, I just really, really like what they've done this year.
Best rebounding team in the country, or one of the best. They're strong.
Yeah, especially offensive rebound. They're 17th in the nation in rebounding, and then probably looking in the top 5 for offensive rebounding. When it comes to beating those bigger giants, I think second chance opportunities are absolutely huge. And another thing that goes along with beating those giants is the perimeter shooting, getting that going. And I think Andre Hollins is a solid perimeter shooter, and I can see them making a run, especially with Trevor Mbakwe down low. He's a double-double threat for any given game. So I like Minnesota possibly making it to the Sweet 16.
Sweet 16, wow. I can definitely see them being UCLA, but going that far, I'm not sure.
I think they're kind of a given to beat UCLA at this point. They lost their starting point guard.
Yeah.
A couple
second leading scorer.
Yeah, so that's going to hurt them, and I just think Minnesota's going to play them in that game. But I see Minnesota can.
They play Florida, which is the most inconsistent team.
Yeah,
Florida is 0-6 in games decided by single digits, which I don't know how you can be a great team and be picked for Final Four if you can't win those close games.
Great teams find ways to win games, and Florida doesn't. So
they're definitely not one. My pick is San Diego State Aztecs out of the South region. See, I'm gonna sound crazy right now, but I have Georgetown going down early, which sets them up perfectly for Florida Gulf Coast versus San Diego State.
You should see this kid's bracket.
Let me just defend myself for 1 second. Bernard Thompson, you'll remember the name. Ankit and I will be at that game in Philadelphia, and he's just going to go off. The guy can just play. They also beat Miami early on in the season, another number 2 seed, so we'll see what happens. But San Diego State, they're another team out of the Mountain West. A lot of people were discrediting the Mountain West, saying that they didn't really deserve all the 5 teams they had. But I think it's a legit conference. Most of their losses are pretty impressive losses. They've lost to Arizona, Syracuse, Colorado State, UNLV, New Mexico twice. They beat New Mexico once, which was a good victory. They have Franklin averaging 16.7 points a game, Tapley 13.5. They can rebound the ball. I just like this team. I know some people are saying it's a short-run team, maybe get past Oklahoma, but just fall to Georgetown. But obviously I don't have Georgetown in there. And then you just get set up with I have Florida playing San Diego State in the next round, and I don't like Florida at all. I love Patrick Going, but the guy cannot just use his skills.
Yeah. Do you have any other upset picks maybe? Because I know you like to pick the.
I love the upsets. I'm actually my bracket's not too out of the ordinary this year, but I do have Ole Miss going far. Marshall Henderson, I know the guy's a fiery player.
Fiery, is that the word you're going to use?
Polarizing.
I've heard other words.
Polarizing. He's a very interesting guy. He plays with a lot of emotion, loves the game, and I do think he lives and dies by the 3 a lot of times. He's not a great 3-point shooter, but when he's on, he's on. He's inconsistent. And Ole Miss has had some good victories in the past, like Florida, especially just getting into the tournament.
Right.
And I see them kind of making a run, even possibly getting past Gonzaga, who I think will play them in the Sweet 16. So because Gonzaga's that team that can get beat by the 3. If one player goes off, you never know.
Yeah, so it seems like you're talking about a lot of with single players changing the outcome of the game.
In my opinion, that's what really changes the game playmaker. So those guys that can just go off. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm basically going to take us into our next segment right now with so there's definitely players to watch in this tournament. We all know about the Cody Zellers and the Oladipos, the guys that we know their names and we know they're going to make a difference on their team. And but there's always these players that come from the lower ranked teams that can kind of change the outcome of their success in the tournament. What kind of player stands out to you in that regard?
I don't see this team going far, but it's a popular 15 over 2 seed pick. Not too popular, but I mean it's popular for that pick. And that's Momo Jones from Iona, who's playing Ohio State in the first round. Momo Jones got a transfer from Arizona, averaging 20-plus points per game. Can kind of just lead that team. It's another player who can just get on fire. He's got to have a tough matchup against Aaron Craft of Ohio State. I'm not sure how it's going to go for him. I can see him kind of getting that, being the guy from for Reed, Morehead State last year,
right.
Mizzou. And I'm not in love with Ohio State. I see them beating Iona, but not too in love with Ohio State or Ohio State. But go ahead.
So as far as players to watch for me, I have 1.5. My solid one is Doug McDermott from Creighton.
Best shooter in the game.
Oh, and it's incredible. He's essentially just one of the biggest matchup nightmares a team can possibly have. They're playing Creighton's playing Cincinnati in the first round. And I think I see Doug McDermott having a big game in that. Let me tell you a little about him. He's a 6'8", 225 forward who can flat out shoot the ball. He's averaging 23 points a game, 8 rebounds a game, and he's shooting, I think, 50% from 3, which is incredible for a big guy. So he's just going to be hard to match up against, especially. And he's on fire as of late. Earlier this month, he dropped 41 points on Wichita State, and then 32 the game before. So he's incredible talent. And I think this year he's been more efficient with the ball. His assists are up from last year. You never know. I think they kind of have like you were saying with Iona, Creighton kind of has a tough matchup with Duke in the second round if they get through. So I don't know how far Creighton's going to go, but I see Doug McDermott playing a big part in that.
Who's your other half of the pick?
Okay, my half pick is Sean Kilpatrick from Cincinnati. Same game. They're going to be playing each other in that first round. He has the potential to just absolutely take over a game scoring-wise, but the problem is he is just so inconsistent. You just don't know what you're going to get out of him in any given game. Sometimes he'll give you 6 points. Sometimes he'll drop like in the 20s. But what I like about him is that, especially as like star power coming out for Cincinnati, they only really have 3 scorers on that team. And then when Sean Kilpatrick is on fire and he can take over, everything falls for him. And I just really like his versatility on offense. The game that stuck out to me was his performance against Marquette in their overtime win against them.
Which you know very well.
I know very well. I was screaming at the TV, kicking things.
He's a Marquette fan, guys.
Yeah. In that game, he hit 5 threes, scored a total of 36 points, and just made every single big shot you could imagine. So I just see him having tremendous potential in the tournament like that. I
agree. Another player that I kind of touched upon earlier by going a little more depth about him is Bernard Thompson from Florida Gulf Coast. This guy has 5 20-point games. And there's just 20-point games that come out of nowhere. I mean, just against poor teams, as the Florida Gulf Coast doesn't play that many great teams. But the games like Duke, 24 points. VCU, 21 points. St. John's, not a great team, but still a Big East team. Power Conference, 20 points. Iowa State. And this guy, he's a 6'3" guard, a sophomore from Georgia. I don't know. I can see him just going off against Georgetown. I can see just that matchup with Otto Porter. It'll be tough. It'll be certainly tough. But if he's on, he's a little inconsistent, but if he's on, watch out.
I'm going to be nudging you every time. Every time we're going to be at this game, so it'll be a long car ride home for you.
Shut up. I don't even want to think about it.
Oh, wait. Hold on. We're getting the phone call.
Hutton joining us?
Hutton is joining us.
Oh, wow.
All right, hold on. Let me plug him in. What's up, Hutton?
Hutton, can you hear us?
Oh, wait. Say that again.
Hey, how's it going?
Look at that. Hutton
oh, my
Chapman
God. He is in the house. Hutton, can you hear us, or are we kind of soft?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cool.
Look at this.
This is perfect.
First time we're testing this out, guys. Hutton, we're talking about the players to watch for, playmakers, players that just changed the way of the game, kind of like Stephen Curry did a few years ago with Davison. Who is your pick this year, player to watch for?
Player to watch for? Oh, man. I mean, I'd have to go back to Ryan Kelly. I mean, I don't know if it's already been said, but Duke is not the same without him, and if he can show up, I think that team can go far. I hate picking Duke. I get it. There's a lot of bias against Duke. But if he doesn't show up, I mean, we could see another Duke go out in first or second round. So
definitely.
They lost to Maryland early on in the ACC tournament, so that was not their best showing. So I'm a little nervous about picking this team for going very far. I think it comes down to Ryan Kelly for him. So.
Don't you like a guy out of St. Mary's too?
Sorry, say that again?
Don't you like a guy out of St. Mary's too?
Oh, yeah. So St. Mary's, Dellavedova, I think that's how you say his name.
Matthew Dellavedova.
He's incredible. Shoot threes like on anybody's level. I think he can carry that team far. I was not surprised at all that they made it past Middle Tennessee. I think they're a much better team. Probably one of my dark horses. I don't know how they'll match up later on, but I do think they can make it past a few rounds.
Yes, definitely. Dellavedova, though, kind of scares me because against Gonzaga, a top team that they played, lost 3 times. He scored 14 points, 22 points, and then 2 points. Kind of inconsistent right there. You didn't really know what to get. They shut him down. It's kind of tough to come back from that.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and it's hard to argue against 3 losses against Gonzaga. But, I mean, those are games against a number 1 seed there. Hopefully they don't have to play Gonzaga for a while, and I think they can match up well against some other teams later down the road.
Definitely.
Again, if they had to play Gonzaga again, it's probably going to be Gonzaga. But for some of these earlier rounds, I think they have a decent shot. Let's see, they are loading up my bracket. Yeah, Memphis, not a chance in my mind.
Come on, Hutton. Killing us here.
You're coming late. You're doing this to us. No, I'm kidding.
Sorry, it's a little fuzzy as can. But sorry, say that again.
No, I'm just making fun of you. It's been a while since I've done that.
But anyway,
what
have you guys?
What have we talked about?
What's in the highlight so far?
We talked about basically a lot of things. We touched upon the toss-outs that we're talking about, matchups, games that can go either way. We talked about the seeding. Not too many surprises there. Talked about players to watch for, and then Ankit's going to go into his college segment.
All right, so we've been talking a lot about college basketball for this tournament. I thought, this is my senior year. I've had a lot of college memories, not so much sports memories. Turned down that scholarship offer to play D1 basketball, so it's been rough. But I think I've made some of my own college memories. So I went ahead and made a kind of a smaller bracket, and basically it's called the Ultimate College Bracket. So basically how this works is that we have a number of different matchups, and basically the winner is who you guys think is what's the most college. So if I said something and it'd be like, oh, that's so college. So basically, yeah. So I picked 16 statements that are very college. You guys are going to help me out in picking out who makes it out of each round. And then the remaining 8, we're going to put on fourthandhollywood.com, and we're going to have everyone vote on what they think is the most college moment. All right?
Got it. I'm good.
All right. So you good?
Yep.
All right. All right. So in the Midwest region, we have in 1 versus 4. Number 1, using friends from high school solely for partying purposes. Number 4 seed.
Stuff's upset.
Heckling people off your balcony.
Ooh.
Who do you got?
Ooh.
It's a personal love of mine to heckle people off the balcony, but I'm gonna go with using friends from high school solely for partying purposes.
That would be my pick too. Hutton, what's yours?
I think I have to go with the upset bet here. I mean, it's a close one, but for me, I think heckling has to take it.
2-1. Sorry, you lose. All right, the 2-3 seed matchup in that region. Number 2, hooking up with a rando in a frat basement. Number 3, punching a hole in your wall. Hutton, we'll start with you.
I think I have to go with the slight underdog again. Punching a hole in the wall. It's just classic.
You've done that so many times.
You don't know what you're doing. Next thing you know, you're fist in the wall. It happens.
Things happen. Niner?
I'm going with hooking up with a rando in a frat basement. I feel like that's so college. Nothing else. Punching a hole in the wall. I've not done it. I'm in a cement room right now, so I'm not sure how I would do it, but you guys probably have experiences.
Sick, man.
I'm the tiebreaker on this one, aren't I? I'm going to pick number 3, punching a hole in your wall. Why?
Yeah.
Because I've done it. That's a story for another date. Moving on, the East region. Number 1 seed, going up against number 4. Number 1, stealing beer from a party. 4.
It's like freshman, isn't it?
I mean, it's pretty college.
Go ahead, though.
Number 1, stealing beer from a party. Number 4, drinking wine out of a coffee mug. I'm going to start with this one. Stealing beer from a party. Absolutely. So college.
I've never heard of anybody drinking wine out of a coffee mug. It happens?
It happens.
Gosh. I'm going to go stealing beer from a college party, too.
Hutton?
Just for diversity, I'm going to pick the wine out of coffee mug.
All right.
I think the definition of college is introduction to Franzia and the uses and possible carrying cases of a box of that stuff. So I have never seen coffee mug myself, but interesting, unique carrying cases for...
Right, because Hutton drinks the Franz straight out of the bag.
Slap that.
That is not me, but I've heard.
I kid. All right. The 2-3 matchup in that region, it would be number 2, passing out in someone else's bed. Number 3, pulling an all-nighter, then passing out 20 minutes before your first class. Niner, I think this one is a lot of personal ties with you.
Very. Passing out on somebody's bed, that would be your bed, and then pulling an all-nighter and then passing out 20 minutes before your first class, which I did last night, which is the most useless thing I've ever done. I stayed up all night to study and then just try to go to my first class, but passing out on someone else's bed is probably my pick. They're more common.
Hutton?
I have to go with the all-nighter. I have too many experiences with those, and I haven't passed out before class, but as a kid who has missed a final sleeping through it, that resonates real strongly with me.
So I'm going to agree with Hutton on this one. Yeah, I'm going to agree with Hutton. That's so college. You put all that effort for the all-nighter, and you just
try and make it. Trying to make it.
Doesn't happen. All right, moving on to the South region, 1 versus 4 matchup. Number 1, going to Taco Bell still dressed up from a job interview or career fair. Number 4, thinking apartment security can give you an underage. I'm going to start this one. Going to Taco Bell dressed up from a job interview or career fair. Did it twice last semester. So college. Felt like a badass.
See, I'm going to go with thinking apartment security can give you an underage. Even though I think that's more of a freshman thing.
Yeah.
But I think that's college. Because in the real world, you're never going to think that. Well,
you're not going to get an underage in the real world.
I can just take it away from you.
Hutton, who you got?
Taco Bell all the way. That is so college.
Yeah,
You said it all.
That wasn't even
Taco
a fair
Bell,
matchup. I apologize for that number 4 seed. All right, number 2-3 matchup. Number 2, tailgating through a football game. Number 3, going to class still drunk from the night before. Which one is more college?
I would say tailgating through a football game. Personally, I've never gone to class drunk. Maybe you have. I have not. But tailgating through a football game, I'll say.
Hutton?
I'd also have to go with tailgating through a football game. As a Virginia Cavalier, with our last football season being less than remarkable, that sounds more enjoyable and fully college, so I have to go with that.
I'm going to have to agree with the 2 of you. I think it's 3-0 on tailgating there. All right, last region, West region.
Let's go.
1v4. Number 1, figuring out how to spend your last 10 meal points at the end of the semester. Number 4, figuring out your guy-to-girl ratio before going out to a frat. Hutton, we'll start with you.
I think it's the meal points. I've gotten it down to a science where you buy like the one bag of Fritos that's left, and like you and your friend are like trying to figure out how many like gummy bears you can get. It's definitely the meal points.
I'm gonna go with figuring out your girl-to-guy ratio before going out to a frat. Personally, I've always have an excess of meal points, so I haven't really had to worry
I thought you were
about
going to say excess of girls. Ooh.
But the girl-to-guy ratio, your first year, that's just so vital. When you're going out, you gotta get that down. But what's your take?
It's been so long since I've done a meal plan or a frat, so this is tough for me. I don't like the upset with this one. I'm going to go with the number 1 seed, figuring out your meal points at the end of the semester. Sorry, no upset there.
I'm losing on these.
I know,
Go
you're
ahead.
being outnumbered. All right, last matchup, 2v3. Number 2, eating McDonald's 4 days in a row. Number
Disgusting.
3, pre-gaming while taking a shower.
Interesting. Hutton,
Is
what's your
that from
take?
experience?
What's that?
Is that last one from experience?
I'll get to that. Hutton.
I think it's McDonald's 4 days in a row. Personally, for me, it'd be Qdoba like 8 days in a row. But yeah, that resonates real well.
I'm going to go pre-gaming while taking a shower. I've never done it, but I've also never eaten McDonald's 4 days in a row, so why not? Number 3.
This is just so easy for me. Pre-gaming while taking a shower. If it doesn't happen like on occasion, then I feel bad. I feel like the shower brew is just like you get the best of both worlds here. You're taking a nice hot shower, and then you take a little break, get a nice cold beer. I don't know. I think it's one of the greatest experiences that everyone should try at least once in their life. So that's an easy number 3 win for me. So I think we have all our winners there. We have 8 people coming out of this little mini bracket that we'll post on fourthandhollywood.com, and we'll have you guys vote on it on which one actually takes the cake on the most college thing. So look out for that.
Definitely. So moving on.
Here's the winning question, though. Do you have a cup holder in your shower?
I do not have a cup holder, but we have like the edges of the shower are really wide, so you can just put your beer there, or beers, plural.
So moving on. Let's just talk about our Final Four, our brackets. Who we got winning all? Who's our favorites? Hutton, who's your Final Four?
Okay, well, Niner's not going to like me for this because it's a pretty
chalk?
flat bracket.
Is it chalk?
It's changed
Awful.
3 times today already. But Final Four, this is back to basketball, right? We're not still doing the college.
Back to basketball.
So, So out of the Midwest, I have to go Louisville all the way. You know, I think obviously St. Louis is really strong. I don't think they can do it. I don't see Duke or Michigan State posing too much of a threat. I would have had Duke going further if they had gone further in the ACC tournament, but yet another loss to Maryland just doesn't do it for me. Michigan State is an interesting option, but I have to go with the very efficient Louisville. Georgetown out of the South, I like defensive teams a lot, and Georgetown just really embodies that for me. East, oh man, this is a total cop-out. Indiana.
Dude, you got 2-1 so far.
Yeah.
What's going on? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Georgetown's not number 1.
There's 2, baby.
It's boring, I know, but I have my reasons. I'm sorry, 9. I don't think Syracuse can take them down. I think NC State probably has a better chance of that. I think NC State's better than their record shows, and from playing them and losing them, I think that losing to them, I think that is something that I can see that happening. But
and
I
they're
have
so
Indiana
talented
going
too.
to the Final Four.
They
Finally, Ohio State in the West. I really like Ohio State. I'm toying with them going beyond that point. I'm not quite there yet. But I think Ohio State has a real shot.
Ohio State is that team, I think, is from 2010 with Evan Turner. A team that's really high entering the tournament, hasn't lost since early February, but I think they will find an upset. Maybe not in the first round, but sooner or later. My take is Notre Dame will upset them. But Ankit, who's your Final Four?
This is, I think, Hutton just copied off my bracket because it's very similar.
You guys are awful.
I know.
2-2s, 2-1s.
I know.
Like President Obama, straight chalk.
Yeah. So I have Louisville in the Midwest. They just do so much, and they find ways to win. And they just have no quit in them either. The Big East championship, out of nowhere, they just came back and beat Syracuse. I think they went on, outscored them by 30+ points. I just see them having a lot of success in that region. I also have Georgetown in the South coming out there. I'm not entirely impressed by Kansas in that region. And then, like we talked about earlier, Florida, you just never know what you're going to get. I did struggle with this a little bit. I could see VCU kind of making it into the Final Four there, but I just think Georgetown, they just have the most potential in that region. In the East, I also have Indiana. I just think the combination of Zeller and Oladipo is just too much. And then I'm a big Tom Crean guy, and I trust him. I think he's a very, very smart basketball coach, and he's going to find ways to win in this tournament. And then in the West region, I have Wisconsin coming out, and I have them playing Ohio State.
It's a very popular pick.
Yeah, they've just turned it on as of late. And again, we keep talking about this, but it's so important down the stretch is just finding ways to win, and that's what they do best. And I see them beating Ohio State in that matchup there.
Okay.
I have Wisconsin playing Ohio State, and I just think that's just going to be an amazing defensive battle there.
What's it, like the fourth time around?
Yeah.
See, I'm opposite you guys. I have Ole Miss beating Wisconsin off the play of Marshall Henderson. But let me set you guys straight. Let me go through my bracket. That's not chalk at all. So we'll go through the Midwest region. I have St. Louis winning that region. I like the play of St. Louis. They can beat the defense of Louisville. Louisville plays a similar defense of VCU's Havoc defense. Full press. I mean, St. Louis kind of struggled with it at times, but they quickly broke it, which was incredible in that championship game, in the Atlantic 10 championship game. I like the play of Cody Ellis, and that team they play defense, and they play it so well. They don't foul. That's the difference between St. Louis and VCU. VCU fouls. St. Louis is poised. They're composed, they're poised, and I see them making a late run. I see them beating Michigan State in the Elite Eight to make it to the Final Four, which is a rematch of last year, where they almost beat Michigan State. Lost by 4 points, 2 points. But moving on, going to the South region. The South region, my South region is all in a havoc. I don't know. It's crazy. So I usually pick a 16 seed to beat in the 1 seed. This year, I wanted to pick Southern over Gonzaga, but I chose Western Kentucky over Kansas.
You are insane.
There's no reasoning behind it. If I get that right, it's pure luck. But I don't see Kansas making that run. Kansas is a good team. They have good wins, but they're also a team that's inconsistent. They're also a team that was compared to beating teams of Topeka YMCA when they lost to TCU, the biggest upset ever, because TCU's RPI is 237. That's awful. They had 13 points in the first half. I mean, I don't know how you can play like that. And Ben McLemore, that's how you pronounce his last name? Nick?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's move on. But he can just disappear in games, just as scary. He leads the team in points, 16.5. Been playing well, but he can just disappear, and they're inconsistent. So that kind of scares me away from Kansas. So I have VCU taking that region. It's basically a region up for grabs. I have Georgetown going out early, as I said earlier. Florida, don't trust Florida at all. Stay away from Florida. Just don't even go near them. But VCU is that team that they can get high. I can also see Cinderella get in there, but I don't know. Now moving on to the East region. A lot of people have Indiana, straight Indiana. I don't, because Indiana is a very beatable team. They're a great team, but they're also very beatable. They're beatable by tough perimeter defense, as Ohio State exhibited in their win against March 5th. And they're also beatable if you have a big man. Minnesota beat them just by having a big man. Trevor
Mbakwe.
Yeah, Mwakwe. Totally pronounced that wrong. We can move on. But after the game, they said we weren't getting physical enough on the glass. That's the bottom line. That's what Tom Green said. And you got to be physical. They got to change that. I guess they're definitely a beatable team. There's ways to beat them. Cody Zeller is a great player. National Player of the Year. Victor Oladipo, great. They have Robert Horry type player in Christian Watford.
Look at that, a Robert Horry reference. Wow.
Yes,
wow.
But I think Syracuse matches up with them so well. If they don't get in foul trouble, as they did against Louisville, when they were killing Louisville until James Sutherland got in foul trouble, also with Brandon Trish, Michael Carter-Williams. But Michael Carter-Williams can shut down, and Trish can shut down Victor Oladipo. Kita, their center, has always been a great defensive center, but he's playing great offensively, and that's so huge against going up against Cody Zeller. And I can see them beating Indiana. I think they match up well, especially with that defense that they put on the perimeter in that zone. I could see Syracuse beating Miami. That was a toss-up for me. I like Miami, but I think Miami is the team of Missouri last year. Missouri, real hot, high-scoring team. Older players, I think. They have Phil Pressey. Miami's a very old team. They're like average year is 24. Boy. They're an old team. But I have Syracuse beating them. And then in my last region, my West region, I have Gonzaga. My only 1 seed making it. And I think no. See, this is what. Hear me out about Gonzaga. I like Kelly help me out here. Olynyk. Yes, thank you. He's averaging 17.5 points a game. They also have Kevin Pangos, sophomore guard from Canada, 3-point threat, great on the perimeter. They have Elias Harris. They also have David Stockton, John Stockton's son. I love his passing. He's crisp. He's not insane with his assists per game, but he's great. Their one way they can get beat is by a team that comes out of nowhere, and a team that comes out of nowhere with a player that comes out of nowhere. That sounds pretty confusing, but Illinois did that. Brandon Paul scoring 35 points a game. And after the game, Mark Few, Gonzaga's head coach, said we didn't have a guy who could guard him one-on-one, basically, which I think has changed. I think David Stockton has stepped up to play defense, averaging 3.3 assists per game, and 1 point, almost 2 steals per game. And I think that can be the deciding factor. A lot of people don't like Gonzaga because they did not play real tough conference schedule or non-conference schedule, and their conference schedule is pretty weak. But they had nice wins against Kansas State, Oklahoma. I mean, those are pretty good teams. What do you guys think about that?
I think. Go ahead, Hutton.
I mean, I think if any team, the defensive-minded team, figures out how to shut down Olynyk, they're done. And they're playing Pittsburgh, which is an aggressive team. They'll match them up, and then if they make it past Pittsburgh, I just don't see them making it past the just ironclad defense of Wisconsin. They'll figure out a way to shut Kelly down.
Ryan's team's always defeatable.
That's just going to be the end of it. I watched their game versus Butler, which is, of course, one of the 2 losses that they had.
They lost that game
I really
on a
wasn't
crazy
impressed.
play. They lost that game on a crazy play by Roosevelt Jones stealing the ball in a lob throw-in and just laying it up as time's expired. I don't think that's a real testament of that team, especially when
it
lost.
is. Every
But of a
minute
number
counts in a
1
game
team,
like that.
That lost game a long time ago. I don't know.
Also, I mean, their toughest team in conference play. I mean, as much as I love St. Mary's, I mean, that's their most difficult
Yeah, but they
team
also
on their
beat them
schedule.
3
So
times.
it's not,
Beat them handedly. It wasn't close.
I mean, I'm sure we'll see, but
We'll see.
Mikey, what do you think?
It's just such a tricky situation with you can't really accurately gauge their kind of their talent level. I mean, they carried out their end of they're taking care of what they're supposed to take care of. So now I guess we'll just see.
Yeah. Few notes before we sign off. The easiest draws. I thought this was interesting. This is by Ken Bomray of KenPom. This guy does college basketball statistic, kind of like your sabermetric, but pretty reliable. His easiest draws are Miami, Kansas, New Mexico, Syracuse, Georgetown. Hardest draws: Pitt, St. Mary's, Colorado State, Mizzou, and then Middle Tennessee, who's now obviously out. Well, that was interesting. And one more note that kind of supports my St. Louis pick, winning it all, is they have lost once in regulation since November 29th. Once. That's incredible. But
Wow.
So last word, who's your pick to win it all, and what are your final words to describe this year's tournament?
You want me to start?
Yes, Ankit?
Okay. I have Indiana winning it all. Like I said before, Tom Crean, I trust. I think his time has come, and I wish him all the best, and I really wish he wins this tournament and gets that win there. As far as one word to describe this tournament, I think.
Come on, be creative. Gotta find something. Chalk? Like your bracket?
If I really had to pick one word, it would be chalk.
Really?
Yeah. I as crazy as this season has been, just the way these matchups are playing out in my head, I don't see one team making a very deep run, and I just think that the way the matchups work out, like we talked about earlier, Oregon and Oklahoma State, a team like Oregon could definitely make a run, but they just get such a hard opponent, and I see that happening in multiple instances in this bracket. So I do think it's going to be chalk.
All right, and what's your pick, Chalk?
Yeah, I'm going with Louisville, and mainly it's my defense bias. KenPom has them as the number 1 adjusted defense, and I think if I were to pick one word that this tournament is going to be, it's going to be defense. I have Georgetown also making it to the final. Again, another great defensive team. I have Ohio State in my Final Four, playing with Wisconsin to get there. I think the defensive-minded teams are going to rule the show.
Interesting. My word is craziness. I really do think this bracket's going to be all over the place, but who the heck really knows? Because as Jay Billis said the other day, there's a lady from England that just hasn't watched one game of college basketball. 2 years ago, picked the championship game between UConn and Butler and picked the score in the winner.
Wow.
That's how crazy brackets can be. Wait, what we're telling you, you don't have to listen to it because our guesses are just as good as yours. But it should be interesting how it plays out. I'm excited to see the games tomorrow. I'm excited to go down to Philadelphia on Thursday with this kid next to me, Ankit Jain.
Oh my God, so pumped. So pumped.
To see Friday night's
That's
action.
awesome.
And I don't know, we'll touch base with you guys next week to see what really comes out of this and where we go. But I'm Zack Neiner. This has been Nine on the Wingman Show. I'm alongside
Ankit Jain.
And Hutton Chapman.
via phone from Virginia. Thank you for joining us, Hutton. And thank you guys for listening.
No problem.
We'll see you guys later, and hopefully this will be a crazy year. Peace.